Hello and welcome to One India. You are watching World News. I am Pankaj Mishra. Iran is at the edge. An alleged assassination plot near the residence of the supreme leader, a dramatic ballistic missile display aimed at adversaries, China's shadow looming over a potential US-Iran confrontation, and now, to top it all, a military helicopter crash in a province central to Iran's nuclear and strategic infrastructure. We begin in Tehran, where the regime claims to have foiled what could have been a defining moment in Iran's modern history. The People's Mujahideen Organization of Iran, the MEK, claims that nearly 100 of its members were arrested and several killed during an Iranian security operation near the residence of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei early Monday. The allegation? An attempted assassination. Iranian authorities have not officially detailed the operation, but the proximity to the supreme leader's residence is significant. The MEK, long designated by Tehran as a terrorist organization, has operated in exile for decades, but an attempt on Khamenei would mark a dramatic escalation in internal resistance at a time when Iran is already facing external pressure. Take a look at this report.
At dawn on Monday, February 23rd, supporters of the People's Mujahideen Organization of Iran, also known as the MEK, claimed their resistance units launched a large-scale armed operation. The target? A highly fortified compound in Tehran's District 11, the Motahari complex, near Pasteur Street. This is not just any building. This is a sensitive security zone linked to offices associated with Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, including institutions tied to his son Mojtaba Khamenei, the Guardian Council, the Judiciary, intelligence bodies, and national security centers. According to MEK-aligned reports, over 100 of their members were killed or arrested in clashes with Iranian security forces. They claim around 150 fighters withdrew safely after disabling surveillance cameras and engaging in firefights. They also say they inflicted substantial casualties on regime forces. But notice something: no numbers, no independent footage, no confirmation. Iranian state media has remained silent, and major international outlets have not verified the incident. So, what do we know? The claims have spread rapidly on X, formerly Twitter, through pro-MEK accounts and opposition channels. Unconfirmed reports speak of ambulances rushing in, heightened security, and unusual movement in the area. There is also a claim of a hack into the Iran Cell mobile network. Messages reportedly flashed, "Viva Rajavi, down with Khamenei," a reference to MEK leader Maryam Rajavi. But again, these claims remain unverified. And in Iran, verification is never easy. Internet restrictions, blackouts during unrest, tight security around sensitive sites. The information war is just as intense as any gunfire. Now, to understand the gravity of this claim, you need context. The MEK is not a new player. Founded in the 1960s, it fought the Shah, then turned against the Islamic Republic after the 1979 revolution. In 1981, a bomb attack injured Khamenei. The regime labels the group as terrorists. Thousands of suspected members and supporters have been executed over the decades. Today, the group operates largely from exile, based in Albania, through its political wing, the National Council of Resistance of Iran. It claims to run resistance units inside Iran, engaged in protests, graffiti campaigns, and occasional sabotage, and it has a history of making bold claims that the regime often dismisses or ignores. So why now? This alleged operation comes weeks after major nationwide unrest. December 2025 to January 2026 saw one of the bloodiest crackdowns in modern Iranian history. The regime admits around 3,000 deaths. Opposition groups claim the number is much higher. In response, Iran's intelligence apparatus, the Ministry of Intelligence and Security, and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has tightened its grip. Espionage for Israel or the United States now carries an automatic death penalty. Executions of alleged Mossad spies have increased, and every protest, every uprising is framed as a foreign plot.
Iran has released footage of what it describes as a mass ballistic missile launch, multiple launch sites, mobile launch platforms, a coordinated barrage. The message is unmistakable. Across several Iranian provinces, mountains conceal vast underground missile complexes, long tunnels storing weapons deep beneath the surface. Heavy reinforced doors embedded into terrain, systems designed for rapid-fire deployment within seconds of command. More details in this report.
Iran has released dramatic footage of a coordinated ballistic missile launch, multiple sites, mobile launchers, and what appears to be a full barrage sequence. The unmistakable message: as Washington weighs military options, Tehran is demonstrating that any strike could trigger a rapid and wide retaliation. The footage lands at a moment when diplomacy is fragile, and the region is already on edge. Iran's missile demonstrations are not just military drills, they are political signals. The country has repeatedly used large-scale launches to showcase its ability to strike regional targets quickly and in numbers, a tactic meant to complicate any U.S. strike planning. Military planners warn that unlike smaller adversaries, Iran's network of missiles, proxies, and regional allies could turn any attack into a prolonged conflict. For Tehran, deterrence is about scale, not just capability. President Donald Trump has given Iran a limited window to accept a nuclear deal, while also confirming he is considering military action if negotiations fail. Washington insists on zero uranium enrichment, a red line Tehran has long rejected. Iranian officials say they are preparing a counter-proposal based on mutual respect, but warn any attack would trigger strong retaliation across the region. The standoff is now being measured not just in diplomacy, but in military readiness. The United States has already moved significant forces into position. 2 aircraft carriers, hundreds of aircraft, and expanded air assault readiness across the Middle East signal Washington is preparing for multiple scenarios. Analysts say such deployments are designed to pressure Tehran, but also to reassure allies like Israel, which has raised its own alert levels. The buildup suggests the military option is no longer theoretical. At sea, tensions around the Strait of Hormuz remain high, following Iranian live-fire drills. Israel is holding urgent security consultations, and inside Iran, protests and political pressure are adding uncertainty to the regime's calculations. The missile footage, then, is not just a test, it's a warning, a reminder that in this confrontation, escalation could move faster than diplomacy. For Washington, overwhelming force may promise a quick result. For Tehran, the strategy is different. Show that any strike will trigger consequences far beyond the first blow. And as both sides posture, the region waits to see whether these missiles are a message or a prelude.
As tensions between Washington and Tehran simmer, attention is turning eastward. How far would Beijing go to support Iran diplomatically, economically, or militarily? Speculation is mounting. Is China quietly reinforcing Iran's strategic capabilities? Could Beijing provide systems designed to counter advanced US assets, including B-2 stealth bombers? Officially, China maintains a calibrated position, calling for restraint while deepening energy and trade ties with Tehran. But geopolitics is rarely linear. The report shows how.
Just days after new U.S. carrier movements into the Middle East and fresh warnings from Washington, a quiet but massive shift is happening inside Iran's defense network. This isn't about a new missile test. It's about radars, satellites, and software. And it's China at the center of it. After Israel's 2025 strikes exposed gaps in Iran's air defense and cyber systems, Tehran didn't just patch holes, it rewired the system. First, the radar. China has supplied Iran with multiple YLC-8B long-range UHF band surveillance radars developed by the Nanjing Research Institute of Electronics Technology. These aren't ordinary radars. They operate in the UHF band, longer wavelengths, and that matters. Most stealth aircraft, like the F-35 Lightning II or the B-2 Spirit, are designed to avoid detection by high-frequency X and Ku band radars. Their shaping, their coatings, their angles, all optimized for those frequencies. But UHF waves behave differently. They diffract, they bend, they reflect back more easily. Meaning, stealth isn't invisible, just harder to see. The reported range? Over 500 kilometers for conventional aircraft, around 350 kilometers, sometimes more, according to claims, for stealth targets, and up to 700 kilometers for ballistic missile early warning. This is not fire control precision. It won't guide a missile to impact, but it does something critical. It shrinks the invisible window. If Iran can see a stealth jet earlier, even imperfectly, it can scramble defenses, disperse assets, prepare missiles, activate systems like the HQ-9B, and that changes timing. Analysts say this is one of the few systems capable of continuous long-range stealth surveillance. Skeptics note, UHF radars have limitations. Lower resolution, less precision, they've existed for decades. The US and Israel have electronic countermeasures, but even so, the bar just got higher. Second, navigation. In mid-2025, Iran fully switched off nationwide GPS reception and transitioned to China's Beidou navigation satellite system. This is huge. GPS is US-controlled. In a conflict, it can be degraded, spoofed, jammed. By moving to Beidou, Iran reduces that leverage. Its missiles, drones, naval assets now run on a system designed to be more resilient in contested environments. Chinese officials called it a boost to Iran's digital sovereignty. Strategically, it makes precision strikes harder to disrupt. Third, cyberspace. After Mossad-linked hacks and database breaches during and after the June 2025 clashes, China's Ministry of State Security, the MSS, pushed Iran to replace Western software stacks, cybersecurity tools, databases, civil registries, command networks. Out, US and Israeli-linked systems. In, closed encrypted Chinese alternatives. The goal? Harden against infiltration. Past sabotage, like radar blinding or targeted assassinations, depended on digital access. This move closes doors, not perfectly, but meaningfully. All of this fits into a bigger picture. The 2025 25-year China-Iran agreement, worth around $400 billion, locked in Chinese investment in oil, gas, and infrastructure. Iran is a major supplier to China, and 20 to 30% of global crude passes through the Strait of Hormuz. Beijing has no interest in a collapsed Iran, but it also avoids direct combat, so it provides tools, not troops. Meanwhile, the US has moved carrier strike groups into the region, including the USS Abraham Lincoln, with the USS Gerald R. Ford reportedly en route. This is coercive signaling, not panic. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth put it clearly, quote, "Iran should make a deal, everything is on the table," end quote. He pointed to January 2026, when the US launched Operation Absolute Resolution in Venezuela and captured Nicolas Maduro, calling it quick and decisive. But Iran is not Venezuela. It has ballistic missiles, proxies like Hezbollah and the Houthis, control near the Strait of Hormuz, backing, indirect but real, from China and Russia, and an advanced nuclear program. A strike here risks regional war, oil shocks, global economic fallout.
An Iranian military helicopter has crashed into a fruit and vegetable market in Dorchet in Isfahan province, killing at least 4 people. The timing is notable, the location even more so. Isfahan is home to a major Iranian airbase. It also houses nuclear facilities that were struck during the Iran-Israel confrontation last June. In a moment of heightened tension with Washington and following visible missile mobilization, any military incident invites scrutiny. Here's the ground report.
This morning in central Iran, a military training flight ended in flames. A helicopter went down. 2 pilots are dead. And in a country already on edge, even a routine accident doesn't feel routine. Here's what we know. On February 24, 2026, an Iranian army training helicopter crashed in Dorchet, in Khamenei Shar, Isfahan province. Not in a desert, not on a remote base, but inside the compound of a local wholesale fruit and vegetable market. State media, including Mehr News Agency, confirmed that the pilot and co-pilot were killed. No official reports of additional casualties on the ground. No confirmed major damage to the market. Emergency crews responded quickly, and within hours, authorities framed it as a training accident. The helicopter was on a routine training flight. The type of aircraft has not been disclosed. The exact time of the crash has not been released. And most importantly, the cause remains under investigation. So far, there is no official mention of sabotage, no claim of foul play, no mechanical details, just a straightforward description, a training mishap. But here's why this story is bigger than just one crash. Over the past month,
Iran has experienced a string of explosions and incidents. On January 31st, multiple blasts rocked areas including a residential building in Bandar Abbas. Officials blamed a gas leak. 6 to 7 people were reported dead, more than a dozen injured. But some residents questioned that explanation, saying the building didn't even have gas piping. The United States and Israel immediately denied any involvement. Then on February 18th, a loud explosion sent a thick plume of smoke over Parant, near Tehran. Another blast was reported outside Shiraz. Some coverage called it the 13th unexplained blast of the month. No official cause confirmed. Just days ago, another explosion in Khorramabad. Authorities said it was a planned disposal of outdated munitions. Online skepticism grows. All of this is happening after the June 2025 12-day Iran-Israel war, a conflict that included reported U.S. strikes on Iranian nuclear sites. Since then, mysterious fires and blasts have become more frequent. At the same time, U.S.-Iran nuclear talks have stalled. Washington is pushing for limits on enrichment, missiles, and regional proxies. Tehran is resisting broader concessions. Rhetoric has escalated, military posturing has increased, and Israel has signaled it will continue operations inside Iran. Iranian officials, including security figures like Ali Larijani, have accused Israel of sabotage, pointing to a history of covert operations, nuclear site explosions, assassinations, cyber attacks. U.S. and Israeli officials consistently deny involvement in these recent incidents, attributing them to accidents or internal failures. And that context matters, because Iran's military aviation has long faced real challenges: an aging fleet, part shortages due to sanctions, maintenance strains. Past crashes have been linked to weather, technical failure, or equipment limitations. So when a training helicopter goes down today, there are two parallel narratives. One, a tragic but straightforward military accident. Two, a country so tense that every explosion, every crash, feels like it could be something more.
No matter Iran appears internally strained, externally assertive, and strategically entangled, but Tehran knows the stakes are high and it must deliver too. And when global powers test each other, miscalculation is often the greatest risk of all. At least that's what both United States and Iran are trying to avoid. We will get you more details. Until then, keep watching One India.